Hey, who'd you talk to? What's going on? It is me. It's Mike Lepre, King Michael. This is Legit Paranormal, brought to you by legitpodcast.com. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. It is April 24th, 2022, which would be 04242022. There's got to be something the math geeks would do with that. Joining me as always, Buddy Thayer. What's up, buddy?
Good evening, Mike. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. Doing all right.
Right. It's been a good week. I marched through the sickness all week. I came through out alive and was just in time to three really good beers that were released that I'm gonna be drinking this evening. Because we have an Italian guest, I figured the rules would apply and I'd be drinking every time you made a connotation of the Italianness.
Yeah, and not only that, just before we get into the rest of the guests, not the mix shows, but for anybody that's been following the USFL, that the new football league back in action, and if you're the type of person that bets head shows, there's been 8 games, and I'm 7-1, right? This week, Buddy went 4-0, and I was 3-1. So we're crushing it. Just saying, legit USFL. Joining us as always, Joey Paranormal. What's up, Joe?
Hey, so I appreciate you said before we bring in our guests. So I guess I'm still a guest now. I mean, it's been about 2-3 months now. I'm still considered a guest. I don't know if I should be honored or insulted.
It's like a guest host, Joe. I told you there's a whole trial you got to go through, and it's not my fault. Buddy's the guy who wrote it up in HR.
Right.
By the way, Buddy, I don't want to get into it because obviously this is a family-friendly show, but like this is it's horrifying. The taste of this is horrifying.
It's my beer of the week this week.
All right,
if I can take a minute, Mike.
Go ahead.
Okay, so I've put on many beers from this brewery. It's a lovely brewery in Providence. It's an old mill. It's beautiful what they've done with the building. They brought out a beer called They did a collab with a not a brewery. They used to do a collab with another brewery. They did a collab with a dispensary in Massachusetts that dispenses marijuana. So it's not actually marijuana in this beer. However, they use the terpenes from the plant that's used to protect the plant from illness or whatever. And you crack this beer, I'm smelling it right in front of me right now, and it smells like a bag of weed. What is going on?
It's scary. I feel like I'm scared for my next drill date because I feel like I'm gonna fail.
Reminds me of you, Mike. It's called Life Among Giants, and it smells like a bag of weed. So that's why I thought of you, Mike.
Wait a minute. You thought of me because of the Giants part,
Life
right?
Among the Giants, right. And it's green and beautiful.
Clear on that. All right,
right,
go ahead.
Right. And this one is called Nova Juice. It tastes nothing like weed. It tastes like a s'mores mixed with strawberries. It's absolutely lovely. And
we know Mike's opinions on the flavor of beers.
Not to throw an Italian pun out there. And this, what looks like motor oil, is actually their 10% alcohol by volume stout. It's a peanut butter chocolate, and it's very delicious.
That actually sounds really good. I'm not.
Yeah, but not like beer. Yeah. Oh, yeah, delicious if it was cake.
Mike, you're the guy drinking Natty. You were drinking Natty Lights a couple weeks ago, so you're kind of like out of this conversation.
Joe, no, I'm not, Joe. You know what? I'm from the streets of drinking beers back in the old days when at URI, that's all you could get, Joe. So
then you should have had PBRs. You should have been drinking PBRs.
Tonight I'm drinking the Miller Lite that they were trying to get rid of because of the bad logo.
I won't knock those because my mom
with Luna Azul.
Those.
Now, buddy, would you like to do the introductions?
I would love to do the introductions,
Go
Mike.
ahead again.
Joining us this evening from the lovely town of Johnston, which is between my town, Smithfield, and Mike's town of North Providence. She's the, amongst many things, she's the president of the Historical Society in Johnston. They preserve the history in Johnston. They do a lot of, probably like 1,000 hours a year. In cemetery restoration and care. She's a paranormal investigator, a longtime paranormal investigator. She's the manager of those two crazy demonologists, Carl Johnson and James Anito of Dual Demonology. And she's a great lady, Elise Giammarco Carlson. Welcome to the show, Elise.
Hello, guys. How are you? No beer here.
Wine's just as good, though. Wine's
That's
just
right.
as good.
Wine's the best.
So, right away, right off the bat, at least, how come you look so much better than we do? Is it just because of us, or is it cameras? Because you have great lighting, buddy. You notice the lighting she's got compared to yours?
It's very bright and shiny.
I'm just here at the Historical Society. We have lights in the ceiling. I have a light behind the monitor. I've got a little lamp over here. I don't know. It seems to be working tonight.
You make Buddy look like he's in hiding.
She looks like she's somewhere important. There's like file cabinets behind and stuff.
I'm at the Historical Society.
In hiding. Great Pearl Jam song, by the way.
All right. I got a couple questions.
All right.
For Elise. So, Elise, I would after our first show we had you on, I went and did like a search through Leonard Nimoy's In Search Of.
Oh yeah.
Because you mentioned that as a great show. I got it in front of me, the list of like episode names, and I swear to you, I feel like he touches on every single thing I can think of in 24 episodes. And just indulge me, gentlemen and lady. Episode 1, Other Voices. Episode 2, Ancient Aviators. Episode 3, Strange Visitors. Episode 4, The Bermuda Triangle. Here we go. Episode 5, Bigfoot. Episode 6, here's a great one, Killer Bees. Episode 7.
That's the scariest one.
That's close to our heart. Episode 7, Earthquakes. Episode 8, The Mummy's Curse. Like, he's hitting everything. Wait. Episode 9, Martians. Episode 10, Atlantis. 11, Psychic Detectives. 12, A Call from Space. 13, Learning ESP. 14, out of nowhere, Nazi Plunder. I'm like, wow. When I was thinking about this, I was like, wow. He like, all right,
that was
whatever. All right, Amelia Earhart, Dracula. Now we're like reaching, I think, because it's getting towards the end of the run. Easter Island Massacre, then just Ghosts, Life After Death, Loch Ness Monster, UFOs, Benny and Strong, Voodoo, Inca Treasures, and finally Magic of Stonehenge. That show was phenomenal.
Exactly. That's what, you're watching that as a 10-year-old, and the world's a great place. You need to explore.
But it hit you with a little bit of everything. I didn't realize that. Like, it made you like open up to like a lot of different ideas.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
I don't know if one of my other favorites as a kid was Oak Island. I don't know if they ever did a show about Oak Island. That's always my favorite of mine.
That's on History Channel, isn't it?
Oh yeah, they've got that show, but I don't know if they ever did an episode of Leonard Nimoy there. I think they had done one on psychic pets also on a different series.
With Leonard Nimoy?
I'm pretty sure.
What, do you follow his career?
Oh no! I just watched them like last year. I watched. I'm like, psychic pets, that was pretty cool. I have heard of some psychic pet experiments. But
if I walked up to anybody and said, name 2 shows starring Leonard Nimoy, they would probably say Star Trek, and I think most would struggle for In Search Of. But they would never get psychic pets, I don't think. Joe?
No, that was an episode, not a show by itself.
Then that's Joe's bad.
I would maybe get Star Trek. That's about as far as I get with that one.
So, part of Rise Up. Here's a question I have: manager of the duo demonologists.
Yes.
How do you manage them?
It's like herding cats. It's like herding cats. They run in all different directions. You got to, throw a rope around them. No, it's just basically monitoring their email and messenger and making sure they get back to people, scheduling appearances like on shows like this. Right. And
specifically, like last week when Carl was running a little bit late, I messaged him like, "Hey, where's Carl? Oh, he's coming. Okay." And
I knew he was on his way. Basically. I don't go on the long distance trips with them or anything, but I just keep track of what's going on, help them out a little bit. And that's not my area of expertise is demonology, even though it is, because Carl and I also have Panorama Paranormal together. So it depends on what people call and write to us and which group they write to. You know, if they start telling me they've got a demon and they're not going to take anything else for an explanation, I'll say, well, you want to talk to these guys, not just to me.
So that's technically like, and this isn't downplaying what you do at all, but it's like a band manager in a sense.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I'm the the trainer in the gym locker room.
All right. So let me tell you the nightmare I had with our band manager. So indulge me again. We started a band. We get to a point where we needed a manager. I guess that's what the consensus was. You know what I mean? Next thing I know, you know, she's telling us when to get here, when to do this, when to do that, and then she's got shows booked for the summer where it's Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and we got to come home Tuesday, Wednesday.
Yeah.
Back on the road again every week of the summer. Now we are all in relationships. That's not a good idea. That's not how you book it. You want to keep the band together. You got to think about the whole long picture. You don't just keep slamming them away like that. So it got to the point where we played a place called the Tiki Hut, and there was nobody in the world there. And the worst part was, though, that there was these two women. Both, one was in a shirt with kittens on it, which terrified me. The other was in a one with the wolf with the dream catcher, which even terrified me more.
No.
And they had those Bob Barker microphones, and they're doing their public access show, and they come up to me and they ask me these questions like, "What's in your CD player now?" and just these like really poppy, like early MTV questions. And they started to head over to my guitar player, who is drunk by now because he doesn't care that he's there, and is one of the most vulgar people ever. I remember saying to them, "Wait, don't go," almost like, you know, before a tragedy. And it was a tragedy because by the time he was done talking, they packed up all their gear and walked out and left.
Yeah.
It was, and you know, bad management.
Right.
So when you send these two guys out and you make them do stuff, I know I'm long-winded. When you send them out and make them do stuff, are you thinking about that too? Where they're going to fit in? Not only just is it available?
Well, yes and no, because I mean, everybody tends to go to the same big paracons here and there, and it's just a matter of, you know, and everybody has a second job. I mean, this is, you know, not a job for them, so I don't have to worry about them being booked on Monday and making it back to work. Because in the paranormal, this is, you know, everybody's hobby, not a full-time job, because nobody gets paid for anything, basically. So it's pretty easy, you know, if they're going to the USS Salem, if they're going to Mass Paracon, Ocean State Paracon, it's easy. It's not a very tough thing to do. It's the radio shows tend to overlap sometimes. Make sure, you know, they weren't doing something one day, then you said yes to somebody, then you've got a conflict. So it's just keeping track of that. It's really not difficult to do.
Right, but here's my thing though. James is a young guy, right?
Yeah.
I can see James wanting to be like, let's do something that's like, boom. Let's do something like, I can just see that in a younger person. Like the younger me would.
That is a little bit of a conflict there, where he wants to, you know, drive across the country, has no problem driving. You know, let's drive 15 hours, and sometimes Carl's like, really, you know.
Yeah,
this type of part of my life. But, you know, they get to most of them. And there's enough things at enough places around the country that, you know, they've got exposure all around here anyway in the Northeast.
You know, if you did a pro wrestling angle, you could have Carl turn his back kind of on just for a second and have James hit him from behind.
Oh, dear.
And then take over. And now he claims he's the only demonologist. There is no duo. You know what I mean?
Oh, there we go. And then, yeah, they'll just start a cage match.
It'll spice it up. I'm just saying. Oh,
I'll come by with a card, you know. Round 2. We could turn this into a real circus.
Another big thing I came away with really quickly is mind over matter.
Yes.
The belief in that. Like, so here's the thing though. I know we agree on a lot of it, but I think there's a point where we might disagree. So I agree with mind over matter to a point. You agree where someone can actually make something move.
Yes.
Right? All right. So, see, that's where I stop. Like I think you can make somebody do something that they didn't think they could do. That's extraordinary to them. That's just even like, wow. But I that's where I stopped the line. I feel like a person has the ability to do something that's for a second just above them. You know what I mean?
Right. Well,
Whereas
two
it's
ways of
not.
looking at that too is it the person, like, say you're cheering on Buddy, he's picking up, a giant tire over at CrossFit, and you're cheering him on. Now, is it your belief that he can lift that up that's making him do it, or is it his belief because you've just given him a little boost? He's like, I think I can, I think I can, and so is it, the mind over matter thing?
My ego.
Where's it coming from?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So, all right, but let's talk about this made me laugh. I'm sorry.
I usually herding cats, but wrangling monkeys, yes.
See, and guys, let me just take the heat for this. I wouldn't say that it's like wrangling monkeys. It's like wrangling one monkey with two guys, right? I wouldn't say it's these guys. I mean, Joey Paranormal doesn't go crazy. Joey, look at you. Joey, go ahead, ask a question.
So, obviously, you are the president of the Johnston Historical Society. I'm really interested to hear your take on the importance of really getting the history and digging into the history of cases or areas that y'all are going to go investigate prior to getting out there.
Well, I think it's a good idea to know who lived there, what went on there. If you're going to bring in one of those electronic things that's going to be picking up voices, either EVP or, something that's picking them up in real time through electronics. Maybe if an idea what kind of voices you're looking for. If you're going to be doing EVP, know the right kind of questions to ask. If you know a child died in the house or lived in the house even, I would say it's more important is who lived in the house than who died in the house. You'll know what kind of questions to ask. You're not going to ask an 86-year-old woman, hey, you want to play ball? If you know there's a child there, you might ask that. If you know there was an older woman who, had some tragedy in her life that you want to ask questions about, find out what happened in this house, it helps to do the history and learn who lived there and what went on.
Can I interject one quick question? Kids hearing a child's voice. So we had someone on. I'm blanking at the person's name, but they said that if it's a child's voice, that it's not really ever a child. It's usually something.
Keith Johnson. That was Keith Johnson.
Yeah.
Yes.
I remember we talked about it last week.
Now, what's great is that if we're really talking about the perfect wrestling match that I know that I could book like 100.
I know what you're gonna.
It'd be Keith and Carl Johnson, man. Because the thing is, too, you know, like the old school matches where the guys would come out and shake hands. Like, they respected each other. But then the minute the bell went off, it was just like cheers, whatever they had going. We could have James on the outside dressed like a priest, like smacking, like, it'd be brutal. I'm just saying. Anyways, so he said that about kids' voices. Now, you know why I gravitate towards that? Because I don't like the idea that a kid, any part of a kid's soul or whatever, is ever forced to stay here. Like, I would think that they get a pass.
I mean, it's all theoretical. Is anybody forced to stay here? Are people making choices to stay here? Are they is their consciousness in fact staying here, or is there just an imprint of what they did during their life? That's, if you're not getting an intelligent answer, if you're just getting a kid running and giggling down the hallway, that's not a dead child. That's an impression made by a living child that just was absorbed, whether it's into the house, into the atmosphere, whatever you believe. It's not always, I hear a child, oh my God, it must be a demon.
Right.
I don't tend to believe that.
Buddy, to you.
Oh, about the child, about that. I mean,
whatever you got, buddy, in your dungeon.
Okay. I'm gonna go paranormal investigator. So I've been doing this probably 12 years or so, maybe a little bit more, a little bit less. As a paranormal investigator versus somebody like yourself who has professionally or studiously studied parapsychology and paranormal research. What's the difference?
There is no difference. I don't think
what you do as a volunteer thing as opposed to what you're learning in the classroom and how you can apply it as an investigator.
Oh, well, I mean, I've always loved to read about everything that has to do with the paranormal. So that is what started me taking these classes, because I would find a book and I'd read about it. And then I would, I'd read one book about this. I'd read another book about that. I signed up for some classes. When you take a class, say the class is Human Consciousness and Survival, he'll suggest studies that you can look at, peer-reviewed studies that came from anywhere, whether it's the ASPR, it's the, past and present studies. It could be from the Rhine Institute, from IONS, Noetic Sciences. The instructor will gather all of these sources in one place for you to look at. And our homework each week is to answer one discussion question. We have to answer it publicly in the class, and we have to comment on someone else's answer. So it's always a discussion. That is a lot different than just sitting home reading a book and thinking you know it. There's something I learned, it's called the Dunning-Kruger effect. I thought this was quite interesting. It's, we've all done this. When you read about something for the first time, this is it. This is the answer. I know all about it. I know all about mediums now because I read a book on mediums. And now I'm an expert on mediums. No, you're not. Taking classes helps you to realize that you've got to do a lot more learning about this.
So you guys argue? Do you argue?
We discuss things. Yeah. And it's funny, as I went on, you end up seeing the same people in your classes. And I thought everybody was like me, just, I don't want to say casual, but I'm not out there Monday through Friday researching these things. I take the cases when I can and go to the public things when I can. I like to call them paranormal field trips, when there's going to be 50 people in the same building, and you're not going to get any real evidence. You're going to get people's stomachs growling. But you're going to have a good time. You're going to learn some things. You're going to meet some people. So it's good. But where was I going with this? So when you take these classes, you just do go into your investigations with a little bit more of a background, a little bit more of an education. I've learned things in those classes that I wouldn't have thought about. I took an ethics and field investigations class. I've refined, and now I have people sign waivers when we go in because I can give you one example. We went on a case where the guy kept saying he had demons, and I was going to try and talk him out of that. So I went with them. So we started doing the investigation, and I had him sign. I had just taken the class. I know all about this stuff now. I'm smart. And
wait, let me ask one thing, Elise. Is it SMAHT?
Smart, yeah.
There we go.
Wicked smart.
Oh, forget about it. Then you knew a lot.
Forget about it. So we go into this investigation, and I had them sign contracts saying that they can't advertise that Carl and James were there, because I had a feeling that was part of why they called us, that they just wanted to put on because they were paranormal investigators, said they had more of a problem. So I had them sign all these forms and everything. So long story short, we do some investigating. I'm like, these people are just full of it. But now I've had them sign a contract. I can't tell anybody about them either. You have to be careful when you think you have a little bit of knowledge.
Right.
You have to know what you're getting.
We always do a liability waiver, and if we investigate it and it suddenly gets worse, it's not our fault type of thing. But
yeah, generally saying that if anything happens,
cover our ass type of scenario. I don't really.
And you're covered by people's house insurance anyway. It's just like you're going over there for a visit.
CYOA.
Cover your own. Yes.
So, at least let me ask you, what is the current show that you're on? Well, that you're not you are on, but you, the character, is on. Like someone's playing you. What is the current show?
The episode was on A Haunting.
Channel?
Discovery Plus.
It's a good show.
And it was Travel Channel and Discovery Plus. They go back and forth. I never know what's on which.
What is the show called, though?
A Haunting, and the episode is Inner Demons.
Season 11, isn't it not? Like it's way.
Yes.
It's a really high rated episode, though, right?
Yeah, I guess so. That's what I heard.
So,
cool.
Carl sent me the like this little clip of the characters all talking about like the upcoming show. The thing is, I'm like, I don't know if I can play that, Carl, because you know what I mean, like, So, but anyways, have you been watching the show?
Yes.
The episode, whatever. What did
Yeah,
you,
I've watched a few of them.
what do you think of yourself so far? Are you making the right decisions? Like, are you saying the right things? Like, are you criticizing the person as she acts? Like, what's going on?
Oh no, she did a great job. I thought she did a great job.
Really?
She kind of sounded like a know-it-all, but I don't know if maybe I come off sounding like a know-it-all sometimes. I just know that that day filming that show was during COVID, and I guess when they record things, usually there's like a whole crew to do everything.
Yeah.
This was like 5 people. There's like the producer. I had to like just sit there, and they had to look at my face on the camera and see if my makeup was going to be okay. And one sound guy. They did everything like in the same house. It was pretty cool. It was a long day, like sitting there answering questions for like 2 hours straight. And then, you know, you look at the finished product and you're like, oh man, I said a lot more than that. But it was fun.
It seemed like it seems like it's fun.
Yeah, it was fun.
I just feel bad for Carl because he keeps getting these people that play him that I'm just like, that's not Carl. You know what I mean?
I thought he did a pretty good job.
They should have got Edward Norton. I've been trying to say this now for 2 episodes. Like, they should have.
That would be good. That would be good.
Edward Norton would because he would get the cadence. He would understand the cadence.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So Joe, do you have another question before I proceed?
No, go ahead. Proceed.
All right. So
Proceed.
big thing about history. Here's a question that delves on that side. Now, like historical locations, societies, places that showcase all kinds of historical army stuff, Navy stuff, battle stuff, right?
Oh yeah.
But you know of one, right?
I've been
The
there
War
too.
Memorial Armory to
right.
yeah, just name
Fantastic.
one.
Yeah.
But I don't think anything there is maybe like one attachment. But honestly, I think most of the activity there was just tied to the building.
Yeah, my question is different than that. My question is, I guess some people see it as sensitive, and I'm at the point where we got to start to see it as like what it is. Is that I always hear from the different places like this that they have German gear. Let's just call it that, right? And it's like, but they can't put it out because it gets too many complaints.
Yeah.
But the flip side of that is those uniforms were made for reasons. There's like a psychology behind the uniforms. It's like an intimidation factor on the way that they were cut, the way things were done. And I think by not showing that, we're missing out on that whole part of it. But I guess, what does it come down to? Yeah, buddy, that's pretty. Your t-shirts right now is killing me.
You like it?
Right.
My opinion offended you. That's what I'm trying to say. So I guess that's what it is. I mean, what are your thoughts on that? Because to me, it's like there's knowledge in what they did.
There's some quote like people who don't learn history are doomed to repeat it. I mean, you've got to learn what happened. It might not be, you know, what you like to hear. We learned about slavery. We learned about, you know, the Holocaust. We learned about things like that in school. We didn't grow up to do it. We grew up to know it was wrong. I mean, not everybody was accepted. I mean, here in Johnston, I have an article. I mean, I don't know if you've heard that they're building that big Amazon building going up Route 6 on the big hill there.
Oh yeah, I've seen that. Yeah, I see it all the time.
Yeah. Huge. But that hill used to be called Mount Misery. And that's where the Italians, when they all came in around the turn of the century to the 20s, moved up to Mount Misery and tried to start farms, and the land was bad, but it was cheap. And then I read a newspaper article, and they could have been writing about any immigrant group that you don't like, you know, fill in this one. They said those people seem industrious. Their women aren't walking around all dressed up. They're getting down in the dirt and fight. They just talked about them like a lesser, you know, kind of human being. And every immigrant group went through that. And I love showing people that article, saying, no, this isn't right, not at all. But can you feel it? This was like your grandparents, your parents,
right?
People were talking like this about. Learn this, so now you do better.
You know what?
At least I remember, like, my grandfather was Irish, talking about stories of brown.
He was always Irish.
Yeah.
He was always Irish. He was Irish the whole time.
Yeah, the whole time, Mike. Working for one of the Rhode Island's biggest employees, Brown and Sharp, walking into the employment office, the HR department, big sign: Irish and Italian need not apply.
Yeah.
Ugh,
It wasn't that long ago. Yeah.
100 years ago, here in Rhode Island.
So listen. So here's my Italian part of this. My grandmother used to tell me all the time that, like we weren't considered. I know this is abrupt, but she said this. We weren't white. Like she'd always say that to me. I'd be like, it's like we made the Italians were like the last darkness of skin they let in.
Yeah.
They stopped it at Italians, but for a while they dipped below that. Italians were not considered. I never knew that, and I hear all these stories like I could never get an Italian.
You know, they were very white.
So
Germans, Swedes, we had everything in Johnston, but you know, then the Italians came in.
The Italians were Catholic.
And they were right. They came and took over.
They started taking jobs, and the thing was, so like again, I said this before. My papa, who's my mom, was my mom's dad. He used to really dislike the Irish because they clashed over jobs.
Yeah.
Especially up Federal Hill. Like he'd tell a story. There was a line you could not cross. Like if you crossed, the Irish, like old women would throw rocks at the Italian kids till they got back over the line. Yeah. Like Federal Hill has such you must love it as far as all the stuff that goes on there.
Oh yeah.
Yep. I actually think I know of a body that was buried up Federal Hill. Like I think I could actually come up with a story if I had to. Or I think there was a body built in the foundation of someplace. Somebody.
Sure. Because they were all masons and stoneworkers.
Yeah, you know what? Here's the thing. So,
we actually had a case for Ocean State Paranormal where the son that was allegedly haunting the house that we were investigating, he was murdered on Federal Hill in a bar. It's no longer there, but it was like a matter of 20 years ago. It was in the last 20 years.
That's interesting.
He wasn't Italian, but yeah.
So, Rise Up Paranormal, Ken DaCosta. Ken seems like he's like a hurricane and a tornado type of guy. He just mows down what's in front of him, and I think that's what I appreciate the most about Ken. His lack of bullshittery.
Yes.
So, how are you doing? So since we've talked, how are you doing with the group? What has anything happened as far as case wise? I mean, I know the TV show is going on. That's gigantic, but has there been? Because the last show was in October of 2021.
Yeah, we've only had a few local, people call us about things going on in the house, and I think a lot of this comes down to people. For one thing, people were stuck in the house for 2 years, noticing noises they never noticed before. Right. I have a staircase here that I love to get people to think that this museum is haunted, because after I go up and down the staircase a couple of times, stay up here for about half an hour, you hear footprints going up the stairs. And I know it's just going to be the joints letting a little tension go, but I love telling people it's haunted. And you know what? The paranormal shows, we were just talking about me being on one, are scaring the crap out of people. They have, you have a bad day, or even, a real bad day, deaths in your family, losing a job, becoming ill. People are all of us, instead of looking at primary reasons first, they're all of a sudden saying, I'm haunted, come and fix me. Somebody put a curse on my family. Like, slow down. Let's talk about what's going on first.
Here's the thing. A couple of things. There's someone that keeps commenting, Sarah Yusuf, right? And what's cracking me up the most is, out of all the things she's saying about like Dow's episode about poltergeist activity, all these intelligent like things, there was this one. in the middle of what she's saying, like literally, I guys, I'm sorry. This is what she said first, right? Watch.
You
watch
got to
right?
see Jeff's comment that she
Then
was
she says
responding to
this,
Jeff.
and then Jeff
Yep.
says this, and she's slamming Buddy for being a Dolphin fan, and she writes,
Son of a bitch.
I know no sport.
Friggin'
I
Jeff.
come no further. You know what I mean? Like that was like I'm sorry, it was pretty funny to me. You know, it is what I guess it is what it is.
Oh my gosh.
She's a huge fan. So all right, yeah, Ken is a big deal.
Oh yeah.
So since October to now, I mean, I'm in a different house. I lost my mom the day after Christmas.
Oh. Sorry.
And here's a funny thing now. So this show has been like a drain on me in the sense to like I feel it's like making me more open to things I don't want to be open to. Like I think things are starting to poke through and poke me, and like I feel like I've always had that ability, and it's been bugging my mind because it's like someone's been saying like you've always had this, dude, just let it go, and I'm like no, I'm not letting it go. But anyways, so my mom literally told us that she was going to haunt the shit out of us. That was her exact words.
Yeah.
So, and I know that for some reason people say it's stronger when someone passes, like the first like day or so around that time when they pass. So, anyway, my mom always made this joke about like the type of material that my mother-in-law bought me. If she bought me something, she'd be like, it's gonna fall apart. It's not gonna, or she's that kind of Italian like mom. It's just how she was the only mom of me. So as my mom's like on her deathbed, literally my brothers are there, I'm there. I put on a pair of sweatpants that my mother-in-law bought me. Now, right as my mom was passing, right about as she was passing, she opened her eyes. I put the pen that I had in my pocket, and it fell through to the ground because there was a hole in the pocket of these brand new pants that my mother-in-law got me that were cheap. And they hit the ground, and everybody looked at me like, why would you be dropping a pen? Like, mom's dying. Like, so I almost giggled to myself, but I wouldn't want to giggle at that moment because it was really weird. Grabbed the pen, stood up, got in the moment again, and like the dum-dum that I am, put the pen back in my pocket, and it dropped. And my mom passed, and it dropped to the ground. And I swear to you, I know that sounds just like a coincidence to most people, but I know that was my mom's way of messing with me one last time on her way out of it. I really do. I mean, after that happened, it was weird. It was such a weird feeling. I was like, everyone was crying, and I was almost not crying, and I felt really bad because I was almost like, she's messing with me. That's exactly what she just
made
did.
You feel a little better.
Well, it's people like you that come on shows that talk about it and talk about it in a way where I can relate to it. So it makes me feel better about it because no matter what you believe in at the end, whatever your the guy in charge of you is, it's just good to know that a lot of people share that sense of there is definitely something. There's a lot of stuff out there.
And unfortunately, it's not the same for everybody, whether the ones here or the ones that have gone. It shows itself in different ways, and people have different experiences, and that is the whole world of paranormal. I mean, there's only two reasons to investigate a claim of paranormal activity. Number one, to help the people who called you, make them feel safe in their own house, whether you find out they've got rats in the basement that are making that scratching sound, or you find out, that maybe there is some kind of ghost going on in their house. If you can make them comfortable in their own home, you're winning. And the second reason is to help move the science forward. I mean, there are people in laboratories doing experiments on these kinds of things, trying to replicate the same circumstances, maybe the same people, whether you're talking about ESP or PK or talking about, it's kind of harder to do with apparitions and things like that. But on the other end, they're trying to advance the science. Oh, we found this always happens. Great, let's go and apply that when we go investigate a claim in someone's house in a field investigation. So that, there's only two.
Elise, if someone wanted to practice the ability to be more open in general, would meditation actually help.
That's what I've learned. That meditation. I mean, of course, like everything else, there are, whether you're talking about biology or neurology or psychology or parapsychology, there are different, ways of looking at this, different ways people are trying to make it happen. My confusion always is, yes, say someone says you can become more open to your spirit guides by entering the theta state, as you're falling asleep and listening to binaural beats, this and that, and just keep practicing. I'm like, yeah, but why are some other people just hearing it when they're in the bathroom? So why are some people just like, oh, Mom, is that you? Cool. I don't, we're trying to find the common denominators, the common things that could explain some of these things. I mean, one of my big questions is always, why aren't we talking to famous paranormal people who have passed?
Right.
They're on the other side now. Come and let us know what's going on. Why are they not?
Wow. That's a great question right there.
Why are they not? There's a few I'd really like to talk to.
That's a gosh, that's a fantastic one.
Well, it proves, do they have a choice? Do they not have a choice? Maybe it's so great over there that even though they said they'd come back and tell us, they're like, I'm done with that. This is so much better.
I'd want to talk to the crocodile hunter. Remember him? That guy? Whose phone's ringing, by the way?
I know. I think someone's calling in right now to tell us how it is from the other side.
Yeah, that's the historical. I don't know who's calling me at 8:15 on a Sunday night. But,
I would like to talk to that guy. Steve, what was his name? Steve
Irwin.
Steve Irwin.
Yeah, he was pretty cool, crikey.
Yeah, but how did he not see that coming?
I know.
Stingray hit him in the leg. That's what killed him. That's crazy.
We're looking for it.
Google lady.
Looking for it. So all right. So all right. In my meditation, which I've been doing to just try to get a hold of myself,
Yes.
to think more open would be how? But to be what? To be just more at peace, more try to be more in tune.
Well, try to quiet your mind so that you're not sending so much out into the world. Just like we're sitting here speaking like this, while I'm talking, I'm not listening. So if you can get your mind to stop talking, you can listen a lot better. If the universe has, or spirit, or whatever you want to call it, has something to say with you.
Okay. So what do you say to? And I'm gonna. And first of all, listen. Sarah's suddenly becoming my favorite ever person to write because she's just like correcting us and stuff like this. And I'm going to bring back to her original comment. So if you have a monkey mind like I do,
yes,
how do you calm it down? Because the issue with me has always been that it is the monkey mind. Like I can't get it to just sit in the cage. I'm constantly trying to fight it. So once I get to a calm level, I feel like I get there for a split second and I'm already off with some other thoughts.
Yeah, personally, I like yoga because while you're not, how am I echoing again? While you're not totally quieting your mind, you're focusing it so that hopefully in the future I can learn to quiet it. I'd say like this is called yoga nidra that tries to put you in that state where you're just kind of meditating. You're concentrating on the woman's voice telling you to think about. Rest your attention on just your big toe. And then it moves up the body. And so while you keep, I can't just meditate either. My mind goes all over the place. I've tried counting backwards from 100 and then realized I'm not counting anymore. What happened, So I like to listen to guided meditations that it's like a step above being able to quiet your mind, but you can at least get it in line. Like I said, with those guys herding cats, you can at least get your your mind in line.
But because I'm interested in the fact that like the people that believe that they can do things like you so here's where we come to that point where we disagree, but I want to try to understand it. What level are they getting to where you believe that they're moving something?
Yeah, I mean I find that incredible. It's the same. I'm sure you read about MK Ultra and people can astral travel. supposedly it's been proven that people can either transport a version of themselves somewhere or can remote view, where they just put their attention somewhere. The government was trying that out for years, and some people could do it, but they couldn't figure out how they were doing it, couldn't do it consistently, so you can't really, depend on it to drop a bomb on somebody in case they were wrong. But they've proven it can work. I don't understand how the mind can work like that, and that's why I'm so interested in studying these things.
So that's remote viewing is like that one I have such a hard time with because of the consistency rate, because of the lack of, like they always say they have the proof, and then when you look for the actual proof on stuff, there's only a couple of cases they actually kept records or they have the physical proof for, and I want to believe in that one so much. But let's talk about moving something, physically being able to move. I don't care if it's a deck of cards, you call it what you want, to blow out a candle. To be able to physically do that without moving, which your mind. Tell me where someone has to get to. Is it spiritual? Is it where are they? Where they can they're level up?
It depends on your definition of spiritual. If you're a religious person, you think there are spirits out there. Spirits are something. If you're not a spiritual person, you believe that it's a creation of your mind, that you're putting your mind in a certain place, that it has nothing to do with any kind of religion or any kind of belief, except a belief in oneself and a belief in energy. A lot of this, if it's non-spiritual, people are talking about energy. And that was a big Tesla thing. If you want to find the secrets to the universe, think in terms of energy and vibration. That's why when I'm not in classes, we have a few weeks in between our classes, I don't read books about ghost hunting. I read about neurology, biology, things that you're reading about it and you can say, oh, this is how it applies to explaining some of these paranormal things. There's a quote that I love. It's by a science fiction writer called Kathleen Sky. And she says, there are no such things as the supernatural, only things we don't understand yet. I love that. Because for years, people were explaining things like, oh, it must be the gods. The sun came up, must be the gods. A bird flew by, must be the bird god.
They're at a point where they're on CNN going, yep, and the government today has confirmed UFOs, and we're all like, when are they going to talk about Trump or something like that? Would you change the channel? What's going on? No one even cares. They're just sliding that by us.
Well, what I study at the Rhine, it's the Rhine Institute in North Carolina, is just parapsychology. I don't call myself a parapsychologist because I don't have like any sort of a degree or anything. Not many people offer a degrray in that. I mean, I have to go to like Edinburgh or somewhere if I want to get started on a degree at this point in my life. But parapsychology only studies three things: ESP, psychokinesis, and the existence of the consciousness after death. Those are the three main topics. I mean, but when if you're talking about ESP, you're talking about telepathy, being able to have a conversation, psychometry, being able to get information from items, hauntings, which would be a residual energy of someone who had lived in a space, precognition, things like that. And if you're talking about PK, telekinesis, levitation, that would be really cool. Supposedly the yogis could do levitation. Who knows? Metal bending, things like that. That's PK. People have been proven to affect a random number generator. That something that's just spitting out ones and zeros randomly. They're based on just like a piece of quartz runs a watch by keeping time perfectly. Random number generators are run by some kind of crystals that just sporadic. I don't think it's crystals. Whatever the substance is, sporadically sends out plus and minus. And people, they'll find that there'll be more pluses than minuses when these people put their mind to it. How? I don't know. I don't know what kind of state their mind is in. And the other one, the spiritualistic, I guess, or survival theories like reincarnations, apparitions that are supposedly people who have come back. I mean, I read about some of these cases, and these are people that are, we want to say legends in the field of what they study. And you read about these cases where they went in to investigate, and they're talking to a child who is giving you information he got from an old lady ghost that comes to his room about the objects in their house. Those were my dolls. I got it when I was such and such. And then they go contact, some of the relatives, like you said, talking about the history of a place. They contact some relatives, ask about the history of the objects in the house, and they find out the kid is totally right. And he's just some child, 5-year-old child, that says he's talking to a ghost in his room. And you read about these cases, and they're investigated by people who have become very well known. I don't know. I just find it. I like to stick, because parapsychology just sticks to these 3 general categories. Don't get into UFOs. Don't get into Bigfoot. I mean, I love all that stuff. But as far as studying the history of it and the people who were in the field, I don't really get into that.
So, Elise, are you a fan of Cheech and Chong in any way?
Yeah.
All right. Do you remember the scene where the Cheech is making him Chong play something, and then Chong they stop and Chong goes,
"Oh yeah,
hey man,
yeah.
I wrote while I was playing that I wrote something else."
Yeah.
You remember that line?
Yes.
So as you were speaking, I'm thinking to myself, first of all, the name of your show would be Spirits or Something, because you catchphrase that like about 4 or 5 minutes ago. So Spirits is Something. What you should do is it should not be based around Carl and James. They should be just a piece of it. It should almost be like Taxi. The hub is you and all your information, and on the screen are all the different types of paranormal things that are going on. And you have little separate teams that come in. You tell them what their mission is, whatever it is, and you send them all on their way. If we center it just based around you instead of based around these guys. They say you hired Buddy and Joe. We wouldn't center around them. They're just hired monkeys to get the job done.
What's funny,
Ancillary characters.
Ancillary characters, very good. As I've learned a lot in these classes. I've read a lot. I've learned a lot. Studied case studies. Learned how to do field investigations. My best education is that I'm 50-something years old. I've had kids. I know when somebody's bullshitting me.
That's for being Italian.
Being Italian, I definitely know when somebody's BSing me. I've owned, homes. I've been a condo manager. I've been a 911 operator. I own a ton of different jobs. That
condo manager.
That one's they sucked me into that one. Hey, want to be president of the board? Sure. Oh yeah. Never fall for that one in case anybody ever asks. But no, I've got just age gives you practical life experience where, you walk into a place and they're like, I always get so dizzy over here, and I was pushed down the stairs. I'm like, oh yeah, because your staircase is like the stairs are like this, and there's a lip on the top step. Chances are you just felt like you were being pushed.
Every now and then when you're old, you get dizzy.
Yeah,
I've learned that. Every now and then I just lose. Oh, what was that? Nah, I'm just old. It's not ghost. No ghost push me.
The beer and the energy drinks.
Elise, honestly, you look younger than all of us.
Oh, you're so nice.
But you do. But you do. Buddy, right? She looks younger than all of us.
She definitely does look younger than most.
And Joey Paranormal is only 19.
Right.
Yeah.
How is that possible?
Thanks, Mike. I appreciate it.
It's vegetables, lots of vegetables. I had it.
To let my fiance hear you say that.
Oh, check this out. You're right. It is vegetables because over the last month or two, instead of grieving, what I was doing push-ups and just doing all that stuff. But what I also learned was that eating vegetables and fruit and stuff like that made everything better. Made you quicker, made you smarter, made you you didn't want to eat other stuff. So I'm eating less junk. You're right. Everything is vegetables. It's weird you say that.
I've been listening to this podcast. This trainer, his name's Sean Stevenson, and just he's got a lot of good guests on from different parts of life, you know, and it all comes down to just, you know, less carbs, more vegetables, eat what you want, you know, enjoy life, and get around, physically move your body.
I see. So here's my spiritual last minute thing that I want to explain. So the reason I have a problem with people completely believing in an afterlife is that I feel like they don't appreciate what they have as much now if they believe in an afterlife. Like, especially because I guess from an Italian upbringing, the Italians, they think it's going to be like the trumpets are going to blare when you get there, all that stuff, right? So it's much better than the life you have right now. Joe, you didn't drink. So my point is, like they make it seem like it's going to be the, you know, the greatest thing there is. But wouldn't it be better to live like as if there were no afterlife? Or is that not the
No, it's better to live as if there's no tomorrow, honestly. I mean, because you don't know if there's going to be a tomorrow. I mean, I have that mindset this year, especially. My mother died when she was 58. I mean, I'm getting there. So, you know, and she wasn't expecting that. So you have to keep that in mind, that you really just got to enjoy each day. And exercising and eating vegetables shouldn't be a punishment. It should be, you know, part of living each day better.
Also, though, even the whole spiritual side of it is coming through what we just came through. There was a lot of people that changed, I thought, being in the house for like a year. Like they personally changed, like mentally, what they thought, what they were fed, what they believed in. And my problem was that I stayed exactly the same the whole way through. I kept saying, like, why are you getting mad at me for saying that? I'm not saying anything wrong. Why is this other side getting mad at me? I didn't say anything wrong. I'm just saying what's going on. And after that, like you have like a falling out with a bunch of different people. I've noticed that a lot of people have friend groups where there's been falling outs within the friend group. Yeah. The most you can do is apologize. Am I right?
Yeah. I mean, if you have a basic difference of opinion on the world, I mean.
But I mean, if someone's mad at you, the worst you can do is apologize. In other words, like if someone's like really upset with you, the most you can do is apologize. After that point, it's like that's just the energy that you
diffuse it, not get all defensive and try to shove it back in their face. That's not going to help anything.
Oh no! It never helps to do that. Not at all.
No. It's hard not to sometimes, but
with spirits, with any kind of things like that. Does that same energy apply? In other words,
definitely.
If I'm confrontational, what happens?
There's nothing I hate worse than going in somewhere with somebody and they're like, "You better say something right now," and I'm like, "Really?" I mean, if you believe that these are were people with a consciousness of some sort, treat them that way.
That's douche.
You don't walk into somebody's house and start yelling at them. You walk in, you knock on the door, you introduce yourself and say, "Hey, hope you don't mind I'm here. If you mind I'm here, let me know because I'll leave."
So, that's just plain douchey. That's I don't know if that's a word that's used all over the United States. If that's just
I understand it.
Like douchebaggery, you know what I mean, like stuff like that. I don't know why we like that term. It just when you really think about it, we shouldn't be saying it, but it's like it just comes so naturally. Like I said when I was a kid, I can't help myself.
I prefer douche canoe. I don't know why. It just that one hits a little better.
You know, actually on that note, you know what always bothered me is the term "whatever floats your boat." I don't like it. I never liked that term. My boat. What the hell does that even mean? That's one of those things that's like
in Johnston, I got no use for a boat.
Listen, the problem I had with Johnston was this. It was like my hometown, but a little meaner. Like it was like you're in North Providence, you know, you're a Guido, hey guy, beach playing, Diamond Girl, whatever you want to call it. You're driving your IROC. Tops down. You get to Johnston, and it just gets more like aggressive. Like
I grew up in North Providence. North Providence, moved to Johnston.
Wow.
Born and raised in Johnston.
Now you just need to go to Cranston, create the trifecta, call it a night. You know what? There was a place in Johnston called Rascals. That was a nightclub for like people that were like under 18, 18.
Yeah.
And man, I have some horrific stories of myself in that place. Like, buddy, let me tell you something. Me and Gentleman Dave were we were invisible for so many years. Like, we used to go out and lean against the wall, talk to each other the whole night. That's it. That's how it would go. And then it eventually changed where it was completely different. But there was a whole time in my life where I was at Rascals in Johnston. Oh my God, dude.
Where was
It was
Rascals in Johnston?
It's like, at least you know what I'm. It was it's down near the park, towards the park. You know, going towards the.
Oh, all right, yeah. I know what you mean Johnston Memorial. Yeah.
You take the right where the state thing is, the town thing is, and then you go past that park, and then it's like there was a club, and it was like a double-decker thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know what
It
you
was
mean.
cheap, but I always like that was
Downtown
at least
Johnston.
that must have been great for you because let's be honest, right? A pretty girl has a great time. I tell this to my daughter all the time. Pretty girls have a great time with that, like that whole time. Like they have no problems. They don't have the problems that like
club
really.
person.
What's that?
I wasn't a club person. I went to college and worked full time.
Either way, what I'm saying is
fun.
either way, what I'm saying is when you go in there and it's like my head looked the way it looked, like I was at a disadvantage. You know what I mean? It's just the truth. That's how that works. So, buddy, you get a last question. What is it?
Last question for Elise. As a paranormal investigator, Elise, people ask me all the time about my experiences.
Yeah.
As a paranormal investigator. However, I find maybe who's somebody, I don't know if I'm sensitive or just because I'm around it enough, that most of my experiences happen while I'm not investigating, while I'm not looking for it, when I'm just like exploring a trail or an old cemetery for that matter. So in your case, you go in a lot of old historical cemeteries and not just visit them, but restore them and restores people's memorials that have been dead for over 200 years. Is there any experiences that really stick out for you that have happened in historical cemeteries in Rhode Island?
I've never had an experience in a cemetery.
Really?
As much time as I've spent there,
Right.
I really have had nothing happen. I mean, I don't know, because people have asked me that. Maybe it's because I'm busy. You're walking around a leaf blower and a weed whacker. I mean, you're not really, but then, like I say, other people have these experiences where they think there's a human being walking by that disappears into thin air. They weren't looking for an experience. It's happened to them.
Right.
Where I would be like, wow, that would be the coolest thing ever. And it doesn't happen to me.
I mean, one cemetery in Rhode Island that I can say for sure that I had a definitive paranormal experience in, and that's in Cumberland, but never anything beyond that. It's always I mean I've assisted in different places and never.
I gotta say, buddy, that question, I thought you were going to ask 3 different questions before you got to the question you eventually ended up asking. That was fantastic. That was a wild ride. I appreciate you taking me on that.
Joe, last question.
So I don't want to ask my question because I think it'd take too long. Just being a parapsychologist. So the thing that pops into my head, and I'm realizing for me, and I'm going to be another long-winded buddy answer, but I have feelings. I don't feel things. I really don't experience anything besides just hearing things. I'm very closed veiled. But I have found out that I lucid dream. And I do it constantly. And from everything I've understood, that's very rare for someone to be able to consistently interact and alter their dreams and be present in their dreams. And I don't know, is that something that's part of parapsychology? Is that something you study?
That's something that's studied. I mean, it's not like you're going out there. Some people say it's the first step to remote viewing or astral traveling is to be able to lucid dream.
That's horrifying for me to hear.
Why? You can go out while you're sleeping and sit in the corner of your room and look at yourself. Have you ever tried doing that while you're lucid dreaming?
No. Honestly, it's prevalent in like nightmares where like I'll get to a point in the nightmare where I'll be like, no, this is a dream, and you're now going to start doing this, and then this is going to stop the nightmare, and then now we're going to dream about this, and this is what we're going to do.
Yeah.
Or if I'm just in a dream that I've had before, I can start to sit there and go, all right, what do I remember about this dream, and why is it very familiar? It's really weird, and it's only been probably the last year that I've been aware that I'm actively doing that in my dreams.
Joe, you want to lay down on the couch?
You should write them down. That's interesting.
It popped into my head about halfway through the show. I was like, maybe I can ask this question and get, I don't know. It's weird, but there you go.
All right. So, Elise, before actually, do you have anything you would like to promote, plug, however you want to call it?
Let's say promote. I'm not really doing anything. I'm
Are you
working
coming
on.
to the events?
Yeah, I'm coming to the events. Usually with the guys, sometimes as Panorama Paranormal. I'm working on a website for Panorama Paranormal, which has been a lot of fun because I never made a website before. So it's going a little slowly. Johnston Historical Society. We can always use people to come and help clean cemeteries. Just call us at 231-3380. Leave your name and number, and we'll put you to work with a rake. We're finally having a meeting this month, Wednesday night, 7:00. We have a nice speaker coming, Richard Ring from the Historical Society, speaking about the history of theater in Rhode Island. That should be interesting.
Wow.
Yeah, the last Wednesday of every month we meet.
So, let me end with this. So you do all this stuff, and you're managing James and Carl. I feel like we should come together like a monster movie, and help each other promote
Definitely
what's going on. I like, I know, like, so we got the what, buddy? On the 14th, we have the Banshee Fest, which Carl will be at.
Yes, I'll be there.
Which I am emceeing. Right, so I'm emceeing the event. So this is this will be my second event that I'm emceeing in the paranormal world. Luckily, there's bands playing, so I'm used to that. I got a bunch of really bad jokes that I can't wait to tell to everybody, because I have more fun when I tell a joke that I make you wait for, that just like Norm Macdonald was my favorite, so I can't wait to host, right? And at least with your intelligence, you should be able to mold what we've got going in this area. We should be able to build this, because I'm wearing Ultimate Autographs. It's a website that I frequent as far as like winning memorabilia, right? And the other night, this guy James mentioned that he ended up watching one of the paranormal shows, and it was the one that Carl was on. And he's talking, and I'm thinking, yeah, did he really watch it? He was like, I got 45 minutes through it. I'm like, he definitely watched it. So, and then he made a comment about my pink shirt for Easter. So you remember Joe? So I'm like, I know he watched the episode. So
yeah.
So like there's guys, there's a James, Joe, Common, there's Donnie X, I call him. Like these are guys that like that noticed the show with Carl, and it's like just the fact of who he is and Keith, but just the fact of all three of you, if you go far back to The Conjuring, just that whole dynamic of that line right there, is enough where I don't know, I'm probably wrong in saying this, where I feel like, and I said this to Carl on the show, I feel like he should be bigger. Like we should recognize him in a bigger way. So at least put your mind to work on how we can do this. Like we'll be the grunts that get him there. Like I don't, you know, man, I have nothing to do with paranormal, but I would love to have Carl and Keith up here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Am I wrong in saying that, buddy?
No,
not at all. He's been a fan of mine. He's been like you say people say para-unity, and it sounds so fake. And as a paranormal investigator in Rhode Island, it sounds so fake. But people like Carl and Keith and even James, it's like I've investigated with all of them multiple times, and they're big on sharing evidence and experience. And
there's no like, this is mine, this is my place, you can't come in.
These guys have been on TV, but you'd never know it by talking to them, because they're just like the most down-to-earth people ever.
Oh yeah.
My wife compared Carl to like her uncle. He reminded her of her uncle, and it's like an instant tie to Carl from way back before I even started investigating. So I mean, he's just people like Carl need to be recognized, need to be listened to, because so many years of experiences and methodology and things
right for all my research.
That he's worked with, just like people like him need to be listened to. And
so then how do we do that then? The only way I know how to do things.
They're both speaking at the event at Banshee Fest. So I mean, maybe like tell people, go to Banshee Fest and hear some good music and talk to great people like Mike and myself, and maybe even Joe. I don't know, Joe, are you going to Banshee Fest?
No, my soul's sold to the government that weekend.
Charles Reese of Ocean State Paranormal will be with us at Banshee Fest.
Yes. Yeah.
Talk to people, listen to stories, share experiences. You'll find that
Yeah.
a lot of experiences have a lot of similarities. A lot of people have the same kind of experiences. So it's
that's what I love to do, is find out all these different experiences,
kind of
compare
talk to
them,
people,
contrast them,
and that's it. And go from there.
All
yeah.
right. Well,
All right.
that's
Speaking
good.
of talk to people, Mike, can I just throw this out there? Next week,
You're right,
if
buddy.
we're
Go ahead.
not like tired from watching us this week, we'll have two, like a yin and a yang of the paranormal universe. The radicals will be on Danny and Lauren.
Oh.
Lauren's a paranormal investigator. Danny, her betrothed or significant other. He is a skeptic, and he runs a museum, and he houses these historical like oddities, like the dolls.
Yeah, he's got some cool stuff.
And so we're gonna hope to see some weird stuff next week and talk to some fun people. So tune in.
Fantastic.
It's a couple. Is that what we're saying?
They're a couple,
Yeah.
they're a paranormal power couple.
And they don't get along?
They're from No, they're from Connecticut. No, they get along. They just have opposite views.
He's cool. He drives a
They
hearse.
don't get along.
He's awesome. He drives a hearse. He makes he has like voodoo dolls and like all sorts of crazy shit like that.
Makes Ouija boards too.
Sounds like somebody I would never live with.
Right.
I'd be like, no. What are you doing with those? No. What do you conversation
about that, Mike?
At least, let me tell you a story that I had a problem with really before I end this at a paranormal guest before. And he spoke with this. This was what happened. Okay. So he was dating a girl and then stopped dating her. And then he decided to still go ahead and go to this like group gathering that was like up on a mountain, like a skiing trip or whatnot. I don't know. So the girl that he was formerly dating shows up with another guy. Now, this other guy proceeds to take his shirt off for no reason, just for the sake of it, kind of like I am when it's on Sunday dinner. But I digress. And so they made like a pot of stew for like everybody, community stew. And this guy goes and he takes a bowl of stew. He sits down, he eats all the meat, potatoes, carrots, whatever they put in their stew. I know what I put in mine. All that's left is the broth. Walks back over to the pot, pours his broth back into the community pot.
Oh.
Now, again, here's a moment where I draw a line with a guest, right? I got to ask, why did you not say something to this person? And his response was he was really big. And I thought about it, and I thought about how crooked my nose is, and I thought about what my response would be. I don't care if I'm going to get punched in the face 3 times. You're not putting your leftover stew juice back in the community pot. Am I wrong?
Your backwash stew?
Am I wrong? Would you stick up for yourself even with that?
Oh, I would. Yeah.
I would fight somebody over that, Mike. That's serious.
What about you, Joe? You're silent over there.
Oh, I mean, I'd 100% say something. I think you know me by now. I would be cracking jokes all night about it, whether or not I got rocked once or twice. I wouldn't let somebody hear the end of it if they put their already drank stew back into the stew that I'm going to have, because I would no longer be having said stew and I'd be hungry, and I'm not happy when I'm hungry.
I think I would have stopped him when I noticed he was making the attempt.
Yeah,
I'm the kind of jerk that I would be sitting there looking at the guy anyways because I don't like him. And the minute he goes near the stew back with the soup, and I notice he's not going for like the spladle, whatever the thing is called. What?
Ladle. Yeah.
Ladle. Why do they call
ladle,
it
yeah.
Someone telling you what, Mike.
Anyways, the moment he reached for that, like he didn't reach for that, and he went like this, I think I'd jump at him. Like I would freak out that much. Like, oh my God, that would be especially if it's a group stew. Joe, you know how much soup is in a group stew?
Oh, it's like a cauldron.
Right.
Yeah, it's like a cauldron. It's a big chili pot. It's Kevin's chili pot that he drops all over the floor. That's what would have happened to his bowl of soup if he tried to put it back into my community stew.
I don't know how we got back on this topic. It makes my blood pressure go up.
You told the story. Don't ask how we got back on the topic.
You got to do it in meditation now.
People think I got a tan. It's not a tan. It's my blood pressure is so friggin' high.
You brought the story up, Mike. Don't ask how we got here because you brought us there.
All right, listen.
You're driving.
It was April 24th, 2022. Well, it still is. It is a great number for the math geeks. For Elise Giammarco Carlson, Joey Paranormal, Buddy Thayer, me, Mike Leopard King, Mike Hill. This was Legit Paranormal, brought to you by legitpodcast.com. We will see you again next Sunday. Thank you so much. Make sure, if you're a fan of the channel, to tune in on Thursday for the live draft coverage.
Ooh,
We are
that'd be
done.
tough, yeah.